thank you, Andy, for your time today. We're at Seeds Canada 2024 here in Edmonton, and you gave a talk this morning. Often we want to, in best case scenario, rely on our governments, our political figures to sort of help us along the way. But in situations where maybe things are a little bit, there's some drama going on. Drama might be a good word for it. Sometimes, like you say, we have to figure out for ourselves, okay, what's the road ahead for us? How do we stay focused on this while this whole political situation plays out? So yeah, how do we go about that as an industry?
Well, Mark, I think I referred to it this morning as a political mess. And it really is that situation where you have to realize that there's not a whole lot of control that you can have there. You can be involved in it. You need to understand it and everything else. But you also have to put it off to the side. It can't be what you're looking at all the time. You've got to look at what do we need to do as an industry for our companies, for our members, but then for our customers. And for us, all of us, Canada, US, our customers are the farmers or the consumers that buy our consumer goods. And so how do we make sure that policy doesn't negatively impact the ability to get the products that they need and doesn't neglect or cause us not to be able to innovate and bring products to market? Because that noise is going to be there. It's probably going to get louder before November when we have our election in the US and before Trudeau does whatever he's going to do in Canada. So set that to the side and realize what can we change? How do we work with the career government employees that are there to modify and make incremental changes as we go along? And then how do we work with our elected officials to hopefully get them to where they can pass policy? As I said, we've got the reauthorization of our farm bill in the United States right now. We need to get that moving for certainty in the agriculture community. So we've got to help them put some of that mess to the side and look at what's most important for rural America and America's farmers.
You heard a lot of talk this morning about the ISSB project that we're working on and how Canadian seed industry wants to be more innovative, more nimble, and more agile. And I think one of the goals there is always to, we want to rely on ourselves more, be able to do more without necessarily always having to check in with government all the time, go through all the red tape. The more nimble we can be as an industry, the better. Being that that's our goal, what's your advice for the Canadian seed industry? Because there's many, many things the American seed industry has been very innovative with on that front. And so as we sort of explore that path forward of the ISSB seed regulatory modernization, what's your number one piece of advice for how we can be successful in that?
Well, I think it's looking at what the regulatory structure is, and is it still current? Does it still fit where the marketplace is and where the seed companies are? And then what role do the Canadian seed growers play in that? They're partners. I mean, they've got to produce the product that then we package and sell to the farmers. And so what does that relationship need to look like going in the future? And is there a problem that farmers are not getting the quality seed that we guarantee? The amazing thing that always fascinates me about the seed industry is we're evaluated. Our members are evaluated every season, every crop. And if that crop doesn't perform like I tell the farmer it's going to perform, that farmer, he or she decides to work with me and come back next year, or they walk. And so I don't know a seed company that's going to look to make one sale. They want to make a sale every season. They want that farmer talking about the seed varieties they sold this year to their colleagues in the coffee shop. So I think it's important to look at what's the need today, what does that structure need to be, and how do you move to that so that you can bring products to market like we do in the United States. I mean, if I am a seed company and I develop a new variety of wheat, I go through the testing process. I'm happy with it. It outperforms others or it meets the demand that a milling company has. I'm going to go to market. I'm going to find a farmer who will grow 50 acres of it to try it the first year, see how it performs, ensure that it does. And then if I have to, I help him sell it into the miller or he'll sell it in the market because it performs and it's the quality they want. So we don't have to go through the variety registration. We don't have to go through any of those processes because that farmer evaluates us. It's not the government who evaluates us, and they judge whether they're going to come back to me the next time they need to buy seed. So I think that's where open that process up. Where are the challenges today that farmers are having, and how do we meet that demand that they want today?
Gene editing. But before I let you go, you talked a little bit about gene editing and how Canada's taken a really good approach to that. That it's the final product that matters, not the process.
Mm-hmm.
And so you mentioned that that's sort of a feather in Canada's cap, and that it's a model that the rest of the world can emulate. And what have you learned down south from us by us having taken that approach?
Well, I think that concept of the novelty is really unique for Canada, and I think it's great. It fit right in with their, GMO process. And unfortunately, the battles or the challenges that we had with GMOs over the last 30 years in the U.S. bled over into gene editing and the policy with respect to gene editing. So each of the three agencies in the U.S., EPA, USDA, and FDA, all look at this with a little bit of a jaundiced eye because they're not certain how they would talk to the public or how they would talk to elected officials if they're called to our Capitol Hill or called by New York Times. And so they want to know. And the only way that they're going to know is if they have people come in and talk to them and say, am I regulated? Am I not regulated? This is how it's operating, those kind of things. And so that's where the U.S. is evolving. That's where we're trying to get them to evolve. And hopefully we can get there. But I think Canada was much more transparent, much more open, and, process is pretty short and very good. And unlike some other countries where if you're approved by the government, they don't tell anybody. In some countries, Canada's transparent, they know, and it's out in the marketplace.
One more question before I let you go. The theme of this meeting is the future of seed is here. Are we ready? And what's your answer to that? Are we ready? And when I say we, I mean, North American seed industry in general, Canada, United States. So yeah, are we prepared to meet that future?
Well, Mark, I know we are. I think we all have to accept it. We all have to play a part in it. And it can't be that, we'll let somebody else do it. We all have to be able to be ready to talk to our local radio station, talk to our local paper, talk to our local officials, come to Washington, D.C., come to Ottawa, talk to the regulatory community, invite people out to your seed farm, your seed operation, let them see how professional it is, how clean it is, how all the work that you're doing, and let them meet your employees and talk to them. I think that's how we are prepared for the future, but we just need to act. As I mentioned in there, I think in Canada, it's 1.6% of the population is involved in agriculture. And in the U.S., it's 1.4% of the population is involved in agriculture. And if we think about the percent of seed people that are involved in agriculture, in those percents, we're a rounding error. So how do we box above our weight class and really get out there and tell the story about the great things that are happening in seed and how we're going to address some of these challenges that are coming at us from Mother Nature, from regulatory, from food demand. So I think we have a great opportunity, and we're ready for it. We just have to get out of the gate.